Mom! Dad's got another tattoo!
This week's episode contains references to types of mental health experiences including anxiety, ADHD and suicidal thoughts. If that's not for you, we also discuss paying £9 for a carrot. Hello and welcome to episode 14 of Mum, Dad's Got Another Tattoo, the Midlife Crisis podcast. I'm Mark and I am here with my co-host Richard.
Hello.
Hello, Richard. And hello to everyone who's listening. We want you to get in touch with us at social media with the handle Dad's Got Another Tattoo on all the platforms, most of the platforms. And also email in with any likes, dislikes, questions, experiences, whatever it is, on dadsgotanothertattoo@gmail.com. And before we get into correspondence, Richard, we've got podcast news.
Big news.
I feel a bit like David Brent or Ricky Gervais in The Office when he announces that he's got promoted to a bunch of people he just made redundant. He said, we've got some news. That's not news. Well, I can't say,
Got to tell someone.
It is news. Anyway, we do have to tell someone. And I feel like a grown-up podcaster. We've got affiliate links and we're now part of a network.
I'm a real boy.
Yeah, we're part of the Podomedy network. Lots of shows on there. It's a comedy podcast network. Some people may ask, what the hell are we doing on a comedy podcast? But we are. So suck on it raw. We're on
That's where we are. Deal with it.
Yeah, that's where we are. Deal with it. So I'd like to thank Damien for the help and guidance that he's given us so far. And hopefully we'll have some interaction with some of the other shows on there. So if you want to go check out the network, it's podomedy.com, podomedy.com. And there's a whole range of shows there, including Austin After Dark. So, people who don't go to Nando's and do like a bit of intellectualism in their life and a bit of smut, they can listen to the speculation of the sex lives of Jane Austen characters, which, I'm looking forward to massively. There's one here called Jew Talking to Me.
Yeah.
It's right up your strata.
I knew that was coming when I saw it. I knew that was coming. My brethren, yeah, I've seen that. And there's a paranormal one which always tickles my fancy. I haven't got it open at the moment, but you could tell me the name of that. It's yes. So I'll be listening to a number of the
Spooky Shed. Is it that one?
Yes. I'll be listening to a number of our network brethren, and I'm looking, after speaking to Damien, I'm really looking forward to his ideas about collaborating. We could go on their platform, they come on ours, and I think it's just going to be it's an exciting development.
It is an exciting development. I want this to be, rich and deep resource for midlife men and other people. So yeah, really pleased to be on board. So thank you to Damien and all the guys at the Podomedy network.
Yeah, and Damien, if you are listening, you have lit a fire under me. My ADHD is running riot at the moment with ideas for guests. So watch this space.
Right, looking forward to seeing how that develops. Now, one of the things that the network would like to do at some point is link us up with CALM, a campaign against living miserably. It's a suicide prevention charity. And yeah, we'd love to link up with them, of course, but it's also something that we think we should promote anyway.
But it's not just a middle-aged thing. It's
not just a middle-aged thing, but we've all know the statistics around. Well, maybe we don't know the statistics.
Yeah.
So you got some statistics there.
Yeah,
Rich.
Yeah, and it's in the UK, England and Wales, men die by suicide at a rate 3 more often than women. Which nearly 12 men lose their lives to suicide every day. So it's approximately 4,200 a year.
Yeah, and what we want to do, of course, is bring that number down to 0, and also help us, the community, and everyone that give you the tools to help do that. But of course, we've got no idea how to do that ourselves, just off the bat, and that's what Campaign Against Living Miserably, CALM. We'll put the link to the website in the show description. So Calm is a charity that was launched in 2005, preventing suicide since then, uniting people against suicide every day. So not only those statistics that you mentioned, Richard, that 1 in 5 of us will have suicidal thoughts in our life. Calm's vision is that no one should feel like suicide is their only option, but right now too many people are struggling to see a way forward. Those stats just aren't numbers on a page. They're mums, dads, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, partners and friends, and that's why Calm are there helping anyone struggling with life and provide everyone with the skills to help prevent suicide. They're at thecalmzone.net. As I say, there'll be a link in the show description to this, and we'll keep that pinned to the top as well. And it includes knowledge, interviews with well-known people. Declan Rice, the England footballer, is a partner as well. So it's growing in profile. And a number of the tools that they have on there are how-tos against, some of the issues that cause mental health issues. So how to feel less alone, how to make friends, how to deal with anxiety, how to help someone who is feeling suicidal. And one of the ones that I wanted to focus on was how to deal with burnout and work stress, because that is something that I've personally encountered in my career as well. And I've got a very complicated relationship with it, because even though I recognise it in retrospect, at the time, did I think I was suffering from burnout?
That's what I was going to say to you. That's what I was going to say. When did you recognise that you could be suffering? Was it a gradual process? Was it you woke up one morning? How did you come to the conclusion?
I'll tell you when. So the cause of it was that basically I was working for I've mentioned before, I used to work for a US financial institution. Don't want to name them. So I was working pretty much from about 6 in the morning for about 14, 16 hours a day for about 5 years.
A serious workload.
And I would say probably 6 days a week as well. And this was also in the day of BlackBerry as well. So the first time I was sort of permanently tethered to the office. And I'll be honest, I saw it as a badge of honour. I was terrorised, I realised in retrospect, by if anyone did have a BlackBerry, remember the little red light that used to blink every time that you got an email. And I loved that. And so your question though was like, when did I realise that I was suffering from burnout? And the answer was when I left.
Right. So not at the time when you were in it, you just didn't see it because you were doing it, you were living it.
It's not that I didn't feel the impact of it. So what would happen really is that I'd work those hours for 6 months. I'd have a 2-week summer holiday, and then come back, do exactly the same, and have another 2 weeks off at the end of December. And in the weeks in the run up to those breaks, I would wake up, and basically my whole commute, which was quite long as well, was fantasising about going back to sleep. That's all I could think. When I wasn't working, all I could think about was going to sleep.
That's not healthy.
No, but as I said, I saw that as a badge of honour. It's not I'm burning out. I thought this is what it takes to be at the top level with your career. You've got to put all these hours in.
And a lot of the time, a lot of these companies, hopefully now that the company's thought process, but companies were happy for you to do that. Companies encouraged you to do that. There wasn't so much, analysis of workers' burnout, workers' mental health, where I think these days there's a little bit more. I'm talking about it purely from a UK perspective. I know, speaking to people that do work in the States, it's a very, very different setup there. So were you effectively working to, say, the American working system rather than ours?
That's a good question. There's no doubt that the culture became more American, stereotypically American, as time went on. But in some regards, I think it was just a feature of the little department that I work for. So, for example, if you were working on the UK team, then, you know, you only had one country, probably one market to think about. You know, you might be thinking about FTSE 100, or maybe if you, you know, push FTSE 350. When I was focusing on emerging markets, it wasn't only the markets that you had to think about, it was the economy, the politics of it. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved it. It was at the time, it was my dream job. Be having to know about, you know, Nigerian presidential elections. What are the reforms in Brazil? What does that mean for you know, oil production in the Amazon basin? You know, all that. I loved I loved all of that, and as I say, I saw it as a badge of honour. And I didn't have kids at the time as well, which was definitely a factor in being able to do that for longer, because I really could just focus on myself. I mean, I was married, but you know, my wife supported me through that, like emotionally, supported me, and I do actually wonder whether the fact that my leaving that and you know, without a look over my shoulder, coincided with the birth of my daughter, and there was a bit of an overlap, but I just could not do it anymore.
But do you not think? I mean, companies of that size in that market. Do you? Me personally, I've never worked in that type of arena. Isn't there a responsibility to understand people can't be working 60 nowadays? Guess what? Sure, is it something that can't be divided between, you know, more people, less out, or is it just not that environment? It's
a good question. I don't know. I mean, I was talking to a doctor who a bit older than us, who did his junior doctor training, if that's the right word, in the sort of 80s, when they were working, you know, ludicrous at, like they would do like 72-hour shifts. Now they're not awake for that entire 72 hours, but they're there and
they're snatching. Yeah, they're snatching sleep here and there.
And his argument was that you needed that time to get up the knowledge curve, to get up the learning curve. You know, because there was so much to take in, and such a short period of time in which to do it. But I wonder now, looking back, whether that's just an old-fashioned.
Well, then surely the time period's wrong. It's surely if you've got to take it up in that series. Say it's a 5-year period. Well, then the time period you're being assessed over is wrong. Surely,
Well, I think, no, it's not the assessment so much. I'm thinking about Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours, that you need to put in 10,000 hours to be, you know, elite at anything. And if you look at all virtuoso musicians or sportsmen, you know, they start at a really young age. They've probably got a natural proclivity to whatever activity they're doing, and therefore they do it over and over again. And by the time it comes to test yourself at an elite level, you got your 10,000 hours under your belt.
It's automatic then, isn't it? It's almost it's natural.
Yeah. So and it was only when I left. I left and I basically had a few months off, and I almost slept for 2 weeks solid afterward, which I used to do on holiday as well. I used to go on holiday, and for the first 3 or 4 days it would be sleep and be anxious about not being in contact with the office.
It's not a healthy place to be. It's not a healthy place to be in. And so did you do anything was there a process of helping yourself, or was it just something gradually over time going into a new work environment?
No, it was basically abusing your body, because there's no time for gym in there. I mean, there could have been, but some people were a lot more disciplined. They were also significantly, they were older as well, but more experienced, and so probably the same age as I am now. And there's absolutely no way I would go back into doing that. You have to, and you know, let's go back to the Calm website for a second. So, like, what can you do about burnout? So, talk to someone about it. Now, I would talk to people about it, but I would almost be showing off. Look how important I am. I've got to work all these hours. Not healthy.
Looking at our group of friends, I think as we've got older, we've become more open with each other. It's that old trope. I was only talking about it with a friend last night on the golf course. Never mentioned, thank you. But we were saying, it's one of those things. What did you talk about on the golf course? Just whatever. Men don't talk.
No,
Men don't talk. But I think as you get older, and I've noticed with our group, that's got a lot easier. Everyone's doing it more. I think it just comes with maturity.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't. I would like it to be the case that you don't have to get into your 40s and slow down before you get to this. There was one of my reports said that I encouraged them to do some extra hours. I'm talking literally 3 hours a week. Come in at 8:30, go home at 5:30, do that 3 days a week, work from home 1 day a week, come in normal on Friday. And they said they were worried about burnout. And my internal reaction to that was, fuck off, burnout. I'll tell you about burnout.
You want to hear about burnout?
Yeah, but I was thinking about this with your neck injury as well. Why do we, as men, or just as individuals, whatever, wait until everything is so chronic that you basically can't take another step without sorting it out? And in retrospect, she had it right. Why the hell should you kill yourself?
Don't get to that point. Don't get to that point. Prevention rather than, solution.
Yeah.
Prevention rather than cure. Sorry.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I think she should have done those extra 3 hours.
And that's the dichotomy. But the thing about calm and people and groups that are in that sphere, it's understanding. It's just talk to people. It's the first step. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family. And
I think that's actually. I'm thinking back now. I think that is actually too much to ask of someone at the moment. Because you think about. And I'll come on to why this is relevant for Calm as well, because they've got some tools, contacts, whether that's a helpline, WhatsApp, live chat. I think that is a better outlet, actually, or potentially, what do I know? But I think that's a better outlet than your friends and your family. Because if I think back to my own mental state, where like towards the end of that, I got into a situation where I would... And this is still a habit that I've got today. I would eat the same thing every single day, and I would I bought all the same clothes. So I would have a blue suit and a white shirt. And the reason for that is that I didn't want to think about what to eat or what to wear because it just took up too much space in my mind. Now I don't get the violins out. I was well paid for it, and it was all a choice, but it's and people may be listening to this with the same thing, with less of a choice, with less of a reward, right? And that doesn't change like your worth as a person at all. And there's a mistake that I made as well. It's one of the things that Calm says as well. You are not defined by your job. You're not. And I used to think that I was. And yet, now I don't do that anymore. I do something very similar, but I don't do that anymore. The quality of my relationships are no different. I don't think anyone looks at me any differently if they look at me at all. But in terms of talking about it, I think, if you do want to talk to someone, maybe WhatsApp is a little bit less personal. And also, you don't have to... I think that with somebody who would probably listen, someone you know and love will listen to you all day long, right? I don't dispute that at all. But from my perspective, I just did not have the mental bandwidth to think about how do I present it to this person without worrying them. I don't want to worry them. Now, that may be all in my head, fine, but it's still existing.
But it's another barrier. It's another barrier that stops you getting the help you need.
Yeah, and it's only in retrospect that I know all this as well, and I could be tempted to dive straight back into it as well. I can feel it sometimes that creeping back, that still this little tickle of like, if you want to be elite at something, then this is the price. I'm not sure. Is that the case? I don't know. I mean, if you look at professional sportsmen, who are probably the most visible people, I mean, they do exhaust themselves.
I mean, what do they get? You look at it now. I mean, so let's just take football for an example. Season's just finished. Some it hasn't finished. There's another tournament going on. On average, what do they get? 3-4 weeks, and then they're back into pre-season, and then that 9-month cycle starts again. And
if you go ahead.
No, I mean, taking sports that, all right, you look at, say, NFL, very short season, they're training, but it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. They're at camps, they're training 12 months a year. And
they're well rewarded for that. And I'm sure that takes a lot of the sting out of it. But it's a great analogy because eventually you've seen a lot of injuries this year in the Premier League, for example, soft tissue injuries, which is all a function of fatigue. Now, if you take that into, normal life, where pressures at work, at family, just cost of living, everything that so you feel that you've got a lack of control over, and you're not earning 300 grand a week, you barely get into the end of the month, if that, you can totally see how that would have a mental toll. And so places like Calm, thecalmzone.net, how to deal with burnout is the page that I'm looking at the moment, but it's got some contact details on there, some tips. And I would totally encourage everyone to check that out, and just to try and get some tools either for you or a loved one. That's all we're trying to do, is trying to do the best we can. And if we can get a bit more knowledge, bit more tools, more weapons in the armory against this, then maybe we can start to make a bit of a difference. If you do work in the corporate world as well, it's highly likely that you have some free counselling sessions that you can take advantage of. I've done that in the past as well. It's completely anonymous. The company doesn't know about it. And if your firm does offer that, then I highly recommend that you check that out as well, because I always found that sharing these things with someone who's a stranger gives you a little bit more freedom. Because there's always like little roles you play and, relationship dynamics with those that know you the most that inhibit you a little bit. And I find talking to someone who doesn't know me a lot freer. So hopefully you can do that. Anyway, so if you do want to check out the website, it's thecalmzone.net, campaign against living miserably. You can get help, get involved, find out more, get more tools, explore the website, or even make a donation. And the link for that will be in the show description. A couple of weeks ago, we started talking about knives and Japanese knives wankery,
hair cutting.
Now, one of the things that happened is that your good lady wife had not believed the knife hype and cut herself a little bit with knife. Any updates?
Well, yeah. How can I put this? I would like to say this was in a manly situation. I was cutting a steak or, being manly. No. I was in the kitchen and I was not paying attention, cutting spring onions for a salad, and I had a warning shot beforehand, just across the side of the finger. I shot across the bow, and I thought, got to be careful. Not 15 seconds later did I proceed to take the top of my index finger off.
Oh, that is, but are we talking like properly levelling it off?
Oh, look, the side is nice and flat at the moment. It's but it was one of those where because I took such a wide area off. There was nothing to stitch, so there was just basically blood in the kitchen, blood in the bathroom, blood everywhere.
And so is it the archetypal spurty, like,
No, it was just no matter what you put round it, it just seeped through. I had about 3 or 4 gauzes, and then then it got to the point where me being me, I bought super glue. I did it to my head a few years back, but that's another story. Yeah.
That can't be good.
Super glue was originally invented for minor cuts like that.
Yeah, but the stuff you get down the hardware store.
Luckily, I read the small print, because if I'd have put it on my skin, I bought quite a potent one, and it wouldn't have been good, so I didn't bother doing it. But yeah, I've done it before. But it got to that point where it just wouldn't stop. So yes,
you're still here. So
I'm still here.
I assume it has stopped.
Well, I mean, the light. I saw the light, but did not walk forward.
That's very good. I'm very pleased that you did it. So maybe our friend who was air chopping his onion with his fingers curled under was actually
knew what
he was doing. Not knife wankery at all. Maybe cutting your own hand off. That's wankery.
Yeah, and
ironically, you won't be able to do it afterwards, but.
And what I was doing, I entered, these stupid things that come up, new company, they've got these newfangled knives. Before I bought the knives, I entered this competition. They're giving away 100 sets. So there I am, next day, feeling sorry for myself, this crusty, bloody, bandaged finger. What a set. I've got more sharp knives coming out of it in the kitchen than I know what to do with now.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. I was like, and yeah, you try breaking that to the wife. By the way, these massive knives are turning up after what I've just done. Yeah,
that's good. Well done. I'm very pleased with you. My own update is following the revelation that I was going out. I'm talking about burnout, and now I've got a different job where basically I go out for lunch for a living. It's very, very difficult.
Sounds terrible.
And one of the things I had to navigate this week was going out for lunch with somebody who deliberately organised it for a Friday afternoon so he could make it a boozy one.
Now, can I stop you there? Can I stop you there? Because we spoke about this off air on Thursday, and it was just one of those comments. You said, I'm going for lunch, and I went, oh, boozy one. You went, I don't drink anymore. Proceed.
I still don't drink anymore. But it was a good reminder that most of these things that we're worried about just don't exist. Because at first, when he first floated the idea of making it a boozy one, there was going to be 4 of us there, a colleague of his, colleague of mine, and as I said before, you can basically hide in plain sight. After about 10 minutes, you get through it, and you're on, and especially if you have like a non-alcoholic beer or something on the side, it's sort of like people forget about it anyway.
And once the people you're with have had 2 or 3, they're not really focusing on what you're doing.
And so I was a little bit sheepish in that. Eventually, it turned out it was just me and this other guy that were going to have that were going out. And I also happened to know that he was going out afterwards.
Oh, so you've got him. It's the irresistible force against the immovable object. Ew.
Yeah, and so, but I was worried that I was going to ruin his buzz. Do you know what I mean? That, he was there thinking, oh, we'll have a nice bit of bonhomie, building relationships over a nice bottle of wine, and then me going, can I just have a fizzy water, please?
Yeah, kill the vibe.
So I was worried. He's probably overstating it, but it was something new to negotiate, and in the event, he couldn't give a fuck. Honestly, he went, oh, no, that's fine, and proceeded. I think he probably had about 5 very large glasses of wine. By the time he was nicely alight, by the time he
was steaming in, good lad, Friday afternoon.
But it made no difference. It made no difference. He didn't care, and I think that that's indicative of lots of these things that, especially if you want to change something or make a big change. And I guess the culture that I grew up in is one of piss taking, right? Oh, here he comes, the Virgin Mary's it, all that sort of stuff. And maybe it says something about how thin-skinned I am. It really impacts me, that does at first. And but once you're over that hump, it's fine, of course. But the idea of that, it's like this is a bit of a jump, but it's like if you wanted to wear a three-piece suit to work, I would need to leave work, like resign from my job, get another job, and only if you turned up on your first day in a three-piece suit would I be able to carry that off.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I have this real, of course, again, I know this is all in my own head, but it exists anyway. I'm so self-conscious about image changes that I could only do it to a new set of people.
Right.
So, you know, I could, if you want, you know, if I wanted to have a skinhead, for instance, I would have to change jobs.
See, that's something that's never bothered me. You know, I love it. I'm a bit like your dad. I love a bit of rascal. You know,
yeah, I'm not against it either, but I think the changing of a style, I get so in my own head about it that I literally wouldn't be able to do it unless it was in front of a new set of people who didn't know that I hadn't done this previously.
But surely that's overanalyzing, because a three-piece suit is effectively, you're wearing a suit, it's putting a waist jacket on. It's not you coming in as a new romantic, is it? You know, it's not like, it's not, how drastic is it? It's putting a waistcoat on.
I know, but I want a pocket watch with it. And, you know, audio
monocle.
Yeah, the whole lot. I don't think you could rock up on Wednesday afternoon suddenly wearing a waistcoat with a pocket watch.
You would be known as you'd be known as waistcoat for the rest of your working life. Waistcoat.
Well, you might
do, might not.
You might be known as that with the new place as well. But at least, like, you've got to do it on the first day. I just cannot. So I grew a beard about 15 years ago. I had to go on holiday to do it and then hope that no one noticed when.
Yeah, but pretend you've been shipwrecked, you know.
Yeah. And also, I've spent the first week as well when people come, I'm going to shave it off next week.
Waiting for it to go, it looks nice. Yeah, you're waiting for that.
Yeah, that is the sort. So I've been talking about how I'm this amazing person that's overcome imposter syndrome. I've still got my demons to slay, my crosses to bear. And I can only change image, changes of jobs.
That's insane.
You get a chance to reinvent yourself, don't you? You can't reinvent yourself with people that know you really well. Like, what the fuck are you wearing? The I Don't Drink thing suffered its sternest test only last night. And there's a realisation that I won't be teetotal for the rest of my life. And that is because... you know what highfalutin, self-regarding, self-aggrandized dickhead I can be. I went out for dinner last night. My wife had wine flight. You familiar with this? Wine flight is when you have like a tasting menu. So which is set, it's basically a posh set menu, number of courses, and you don't buy a bottle of wine. Each meal has an accompanying glass of wine with it, and ponctually known as wine flight.
Okay, I'm sure there's a reason for that, but
yeah, I don't actually know the reason, but something I'll find out afterwards. So yeah, I love a bit of wine flight. And last night I drove and
wine flight envy.
I did have wine flight envy. So I've found my little weak spot. It is not boozy lunches with colleagues. It's not going down the pub with mates. It's not even all day away day boozing at the football. It is 8 courses with wine flight. I really, really missed it. But in my sobriety, I did start to think these people were taking a fucking piss, aren't they? So I had a non-alcoholic cocktail to start. 12 quid. They're having a fucking laugh, aren't they?
What, for fruit?
Yeah, but it was literally a frothy strawberry daiquiri thing, but with no booze in it. The boozy one was £14, which is bad enough, for 12 quid.
Yeah, but you go, when you're paying 14, you go, because it's got the booze in it, you just go, that's what they cost. But when there's nothing in it, what am I getting out of this?
Yeah, I thought I've just had a strawberry. What
daiquiri.
Is it? Well, not even the daiquiri has implications, I think, of exoticness, decadence, and wantonness. All things that I heartily approve of. But it was like it was basically a child's drink.
Like a smoothie, one up from a smoothie. That was smoothie.
One up from a smoothie. And it was advertised as a strawberry sour. Nothing fucking sour about it. Apart from the price. I was sour about that, I can tell you. Fucking 12 quid. These places are taking the piss, and it reminded me of I'm really conflicted about this, because it is the nicest starter I have ever had.
Right. What was it?
And it was this baked carrot, and that was it. But yeah, imagine how nice a carrot would have to be for someone who goes out for lunch all the time, goes out for dinner all the time at nice places with other people paying for you, so you can order what you like. Just how nice that was, I'm obviously, I'm not Jay Rayner, obviously. I haven't got the vocabulary or Giles Corran to come out with how to explain it, other than to say, yeah, it was really, really nice. But it was £9. So,
how big was it? Was it a carrot?
It was basically half a carrot.
I don't mind, I don't know.
I had this about 10 years ago. Right?
Still think about it.
That's how nice it was.
So what would that be with the rate of inflation?
Oh, you're looking at 15 quid, easy.
Look, I'm sorry. I don't mind. When you're in it, if someone puts half a carrot in front of me for 15 bar, that table's going over.
But it was the nicest thing I've ever eaten.
I wouldn't have got that far. Wouldn't have got that far.
I did say to my wife, I remember, maybe it was the part of the hilarity of the moment that has wedged it in my brain, is that, we did say it like, she said, how's your carrot? And my first thought was 9 fucking quid. That's how it is. But the second thing was, it's so nice. It was little carroty gels around it. Imagine like the ponchiest carrot possible, but 9 fucking quid.
I'm now sitting here thinking, how much is the price of a bag of carrots from Aldi, and what was the markup on those bad boys?
That is probably the biggest markup on anything I've ever paid. Even if you proportion someone going to cookery school for 5 years, right? The amount of knowledge gained from that, if you apply it to the baked carrot, I bet he's still quids in.
I bet after that you go to the cinema, you don't break a sweat. Two bags of pick and mix. I'll have a large salt and a large sweet, please, on the popcorn. Thank you very much. Compared to that,
well, I've only got a £50 note. Well, put the popcorn back. Welcome back to part 2 of Mum, Dad's Got Another Tattoo, and we're going to psychoanalyse both of us, I think, at the moment. And this is generated really by something Richard said a couple of times, which is, I believe you said, first of all, self-undiagnosed ADHD. Yeah. Now we're going to try and do self-diagnose ADHD. So we're on ADHDuk.co.uk, the Adult ADHD Screening Survey, which asks a number of questions, how you approach life, and we're going to go through it and one by one and see who is more ADHD. Now, I would be surprised if Richard didn't come out on top of this, because I've accused him of not listening to this podcast after it's recording. Sometimes I can tell he's not listening when it's being recorded.
I'm literally picking paper out of my file as we speak. This is what I mean. I'm terrible.
Right, okay, so let's get going. Section A.
How often do you have trouble wrapping up final details of a project once the challenging parts have been done?
Right, now I've clicked, for me, very often. I actually feel physical pain as I get to the end of a project. I just cannot finish.
See, I've clicked often purely because I'll get through those challenging bits, and I've done that, and my mind goes, you'll do that whenever. I love leaving things. If there's a deadline, I'll leave it to the deadline. I can't, because I've got so many, in my head, I can do that. I don't focus on one thing at a time. And that's why I think, I've done the hard bit, the easy bit will take 5 minutes, and then I forget about it.
Oh, right. Well, so going up to the deadline, a bit of advice I did get in my career is, the good thing about leaving it to the last minute? Only takes a minute.
True. Exactly. Well, no matter how much you got to do.
How often do you have difficulty getting things in order when you have a task that requires organisation?
Yeah. Again, I'd say very often with that. It's something I'm working on, but my organisational skills, as I said, I think I said it on here before, and I've said it to you, I've forced myself every morning now to make a list of what I've got to do every day. That really clears that part up. But then it's, as this says, when you have a task that requires organisation, that I find it difficult. What about you?
Well, I put never. Once, like the beginning bit of tasks and the middle bit, I find I really get energised by it, something new. Then the hard bit, and then it's all those little details at the end that I really have problems with. How often do you have problems remembering appointments or obligations?
Rarely. That's one thing with me. If I've got to be somewhere and I've got to be there at a certain time, I'm not late. I can answer yours for you as well.
Well, I've put sometimes, and so
Fuck off.
What do you mean? There's nothing. It's about remembering appointments or obligations. When I'm late, I don't rock up thinking, "Oh, this was the time." I've been self-flagellating all the way there, saying, "I can't believe I've left myself so little time." Over and over again. It's not because I haven't remembered. It's because I'm an optimist, which means I commit to too much stuff before going. But I do have, like even this week it happened where I had arranged a coffee with it wasn't really a client, but an industry person, and I hadn't put it in my calendar, and I had totally forgotten about it. And it was only through luck that he sent an email saying, "Oh, I'm just in the right-hand side of the door." And that was the first time I'd thought about that meeting since I said I would meet it. And by mere coincidence, I was about a minute away from where he was. Now, it would have been possible that I wasn't even in London.
You could have been in another part of the country. Yeah.
Total fluke that I met him. When you have a task that requires a lot of thought, how often do you avoid or delay getting started?
Often.
I put often as well. A world-class procrastinator.
Oh, I can procrastinate with the best of them. I think sometimes it's you look at the whole task, don't you? You look at this big picture, and what I sort of say to myself: how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Just break it down. True. And that's what I do in the end. But I'll still procrastinate for a while. I'll still push it to the side, but you got to deal with it.
Yep. I feel you there. How often do you fidget or squirm with your hands or feet when you have to sit down for a long time?
Very often. My legs, I sit here tapping. It drives my family mad, drives everyone mad. My hands, my legs.
I do that as well.
Yeah.
So my daughter has some sensory toys, and one of them, I haven't got it on my desk at the moment, is like a sort of single key, like a keyboard key from a computer. And if I'm at a meeting or something online, I will be clicking that up and down like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. I mean, just outright, I haven't been doing it because with this thing here, it's got a magnet on it. I'm piddling about with that.
I do that all the time as well. How often do you feel overly active and compelled to do things like you were driven by a motor?
Sometimes. No, not really.
No, I'll put rarely for me. Right, that's section A done. Let's go to section B.
Section B.
Right. Please answer the questions below. Blah, 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 blah. Right. How often do you make careless mistakes when you have to work on a boring or difficult project? Very often for me.
Yeah. Same.
How often do you have difficulty? So, for example, I went out for dinner last night, which was a Friday. On the Thursday, they said, I got a phone call from them. They said, "Hello, where are you?" I'm at home. They said, "Well, you had a booking for 7 o'clock." I went, no, it was Friday. They went, "No, it's in the Thursday." I thought they're fucking system shit. And when I looked at it, I'd booked it for the wrong day.
Yeah, I know. It's so easy to do. And it's almost like when I'm doing stuff that I do regularly, I make mistakes with it.
How often do you have difficulty keeping your attention when you're doing boring or repetitive work?
Yeah. I mean, for instance, invoicing is my killer. Because a lot of it is, you're repeating stuff, you're adding stuff, you're subtracting stuff, but it bores me. I know it's the most important thing because the finances keep the company running, but it bores me. And then I'll get an email back. What the hell is this? I've sent the wrong one to the wrong person. Yeah, I would say very often.
Yeah, I put often. I have to update, after I have these lovely lunches, I have to update a system to put in that I've had a very lovely lunch. And honestly, I will leave that until the last day of the month to put them all in together. 'Cause even though each individual one takes, 45 seconds to do once.
Better things to do.
Just can't fucking bear it. How often do you have difficulty concentrating on what people say to you, even when they are speaking to you directly?
Sorry, did you say something?
Very good.
Yeah, but my mind does wander. My mind, it's almost like everything's bouncing around in there. Yeah. I don't know whether that's, but yeah, I'd say that's often for me.
Yeah, to be frank, I can see it when we're talking on this show. I can see you on the screen here, and I can see when you haven't. When you're not listening, you sort of zone out for a bit.
It's not me being rude. It's just
how my head fucking rude. It's just you can't help it.
Can't help it. And it's only you anyway.
Right. If my wife could see this next question,
I was thinking exactly the same thing.
How often do you misplace or have difficulty finding things? Why isn't all the fucking time an option?
My wallet is the bane of my existence. The bane of my existence.
So, do you remember the sock incident where I had accidentally... That's become a fucking habit now. I've just realised what I do. Now, this requires a bit of unfortunate imagination, but what I've realised has happened is sometimes I will have a pair of socks in my hand, I'll put my pants on... Right, and the socks will sort of get caught in the waistband, and I will let go of the socks, and then so now they're tucked into the back of my pants, right? And where are these socks?
It's like a Mr. Bean sketch.
That's how that happened. I have subsequently realised, but the amount of times I'm looking around and go, where the fuck are these socks gone? And they're tucked into my pants.
Do you know what's the only thing that's put? My keys used to be the worst thing for me. Now I've bought one of those RF boxes, so they can't scan your keys and nick your car. So because I put that on my bedside table, and I make sure when I walk in, that goes in there. But that's the only thing in my life that I do that with. Everything else, keys, I lose everything. Caps, shoes. I mean, I should put them back, and that's another bane. But yeah, all the time, I'm forever doing that. So I'm putting very often.
I'm putting often quite a lot as well. Yeah. How often are you distracted by activity or noise around you?
Okay, let me take you back to every school report that was ever written about me. Every single school report said he's a lovely boy, easily distracted. There's something going on, my head was the first one up. I'm like a meerkat. Even in my family, my wife and daughter, I don't know if I mentioned it before, the dog from Up. Do you remember when he's got the collar on and they're talking to him and he goes, squirrel? And he just throws off. In my house, you'll hear my dog go, Mum, Dad's squirreling again. So all the time, very often.
Yeah, I get distracted by it to the extent that sometimes I'm getting distracted like maybe 5 times, and on the 5th time I will go back to the thing that I was working on in the first place that I'd completely forgotten about, and it's maybe like 20 or 30 seconds later, and I am starting to attribute this to social media use, but maybe it's something else. I don't know. How often do you leave your seat in meetings or other situations where you are expected to remain seated?
No. If I'm supposed to be seated, I'm there.
Yeah, and I go to a lot of 3-hour strategy meetings where.
Don't get me wrong, I'm gagging to stand up, but I won't.
Yeah, same. How often do you feel restless or fidgety? I'll put never for that. I don't really feel like, unless there is something, that's got to be done or really on my mind.
Yeah, I find
especially over the last couple of years, the old fitness regime, hormone jabs. I think that has calmed me down a bit.
Yeah, see, I find it even when I'm on holiday, I sit there going to myself, relax. Why can't you relax? It's getting to that point, I find so difficult.
Well, I mentioned earlier in the show about when I used to go on holiday during my burnout years, about how the first 4 or 5 days I would be like that because I was so anxious about being away from the office that I just could not relax.
Yeah.
And what I would, as I sort of, like in retrospect, I think I had quite a lot of anxiety, like just generalised anxiety. In fact, a story, when I used to go out, for nights out, was from a teenager probably until my mid-20s. At some point in the evening, before booze, not booze related, I would be sick all the time. Yeah, every single time, and I knew it would happen. I just thought that was something that, just something wrong with my stomach or something.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, it was fucking anxiety, and sort of lived
Never knew that.
with that. Yeah. And it would be, I would have like strategies, because if you're on the tube or something, you think, oh God, I'm going to be sick. And it has happened before where you get it wrong and all the time it was down to anxiety, I realise now.
Yeah.
But at the time it was, and that happened for like 10 years.
Bloody hell.
How often do you find yourself talking too much when you're in social situations?
That's me.
I'm going to put sometimes.
Very often.
When you're in a conversation, how often do you find yourself finishing the sentences of people you are talking to before they can finish them themselves?
Often.
I'll put never for that. I do. Oh, right, hold on a second. I was going to make a comment, but ironically, how often do you have difficulty waiting your turn in situations where turn taking is required? I think I over-interrupt people's conversations, which... My sort of defence to that is that I think it's showing interest and asking questions, but I think I do it too quickly to should really be letting people finish their thoughts. I've caught myself doing it a number of times in this show.
Yeah, I have as well, and I do it. I notice it, even though I'm aware I'm doing it, I still do it.
How often do you interrupt others when they are busy?
It's a bit of a tricky one.
No, it's not tricky for you.
What?
You love phoning people up like an absolute psychopath.
Just because you don't like speaking. What's the matter?
It's not. I don't like speaking. We've got a podcast here where we rabbit on for hours and hours.
Maury Littman, it's good to talk.
Right. It's not the talking bit that is the subject of this question. How often do you interrupt others when they're busy? Do you think I'm fucking sitting around waiting, looking at the phone, waiting for you to phone?
Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. I phone you because I know you don't like it. Simple as that.
But I am busy. That is why WhatsApp and messaging is a thing these days. It's not because of the lack of human interaction. It's because everyone's fucking busy, not waiting for you to phone them up like a nutter. What's wrong with you?
You're sitting there buzzing, waiting for fucking Love Island to start. You need a phone call.
I'm not sitting there waiting. But it's just when 9 o'clock comes round. There it is, right? I think this is a poll. This needs a poll online. That is what I'm going to do. Like, what do you think about phone calls?
I love them.
Good to talk, the preserve of psychopaths.
For me, it depends who's phoning and the frequency of the phone call. I don't phone you every day.
Yeah, you do, you fucking stalker. No,
you do, fucking butt dials.
That is true. I'm a very careless phone storer.
It's unbelievable. Put it this way, listeners, when Mark does call, I don't answer it because I know he's not calling and he's dialed me with his arse.
That is true. Is that why people don't pick up the phone to me on the rare occasion I do phone? Because they're waiting for me to say sods. Or get
the standard response, butt dial obs. That's the standard response. Right. Results.
Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, so Section A, a score of 4 indicates that a patient has symptoms highly consistent with ADHD in adults and further investigation is warranted. Only a clinician can diagnose ADHD. What was your score?
I got a 4.
Yeah, I got 4 as well. Section B, what score did you get?
11.
I got 5. So section A, we're actually pretty similar there. Well, not pretty similar, the same.
Yeah.
But section B, I scored 5 and you're on 11. I'm going to assume that the higher the score, the more ADHD you are.
I imagine so.
So what do you think? What would you like to happen next?
I think I'm leaning towards going to see a specialist just to see how they can help. Because I was listening to something the other day, whether there's techniques or there are solutions out there just to keep me focused, just to make things, my working days primarily, easier. I'm not fighting myself every day. How
would you feel about medication?
I would try it, but if it wasn't right, I wouldn't take it. I would see how because a lot of this stuff, I'm thinking like Ritalin, for example. That's what they give kids. I think that's what they give adults if you go medication, or Adderall, as people in America would. Yeah, we can't get Adderall in the UK.
People sort of abuse that a little bit if they want to get a task done. And
that's the reason you can't actually get Adderall in the UK. It's banned. But I would, before I took anything, I would look into it heavily. Look at the upsides, look at the downsides, and then probably try it. That's where I think where I am. I've been.
That's
I know.
Right. So we have correspondence. More international listeners.
Where are they this time?
All will be revealed. If you're having a midlife crisis and throw a huge tantrum centering on falling out with your best friend, should you try and apologise, mend the relationship, or would you spend the rest of your time and money on setting up a new political party out of spite? And that's from Elon from America.
Probably. Listen, Mr. Musk is on a heavy come down at the moment, I imagine.
Yeah, I reckon he's got the horrors. But as we said, we're not actually on X, so that actually came via his conduit, Peter, who lives in South Carolina. So thanks for that, Pete. Let Elon Musk, if it is indeed Elon Musk, he doesn't say Elon Musk, he just says Elon, so we just don't know who that is at the time.
True.
But, my bit of advice for Elon Musk is go fuck yourself. So supportive. Listen,
let's be perfectly honest, he's probably done it already.
Would a rebrand of midlife crisis to midlife awakening make the whole thing sound a little less negative? And that is from Andy in Hartford.
That's a really good question, actually, because it's not necessarily a crisis.
No, we call this midlife crisis, but mainly because that's the vernacular, right?
Yeah.
Rather than, but on the other hand, I did feel like I was in crisis.
Really? Yeah.
Now, I guess if I had not done anything at all, I would obviously be probably a little bit fatter and a little bit more unhealthy and speeding up my disease-ridden death by a few years, but I don't think it was acute. So do crises have to be something that you deal with now, or it's too late? Would that be your view of a crisis?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think it's almost, it's not the right word to use, but almost like a midlife awakening. You become more aware.
Yeah, that's of your standing that Andrew uses.
Yeah, and I just think you take stock of where you are, who you are, and where you want to be, and what you want to do for the people around you. And I think it's more of an awakening and an awareness. I think Andrew's right.
Yeah, I do as well. It don't sound as good though, does it? The Midlife Awakening podcast. No,
I think we covered a lot on that.
Yeah, we did cover a lot, and as always, we'd love you to get in touch. Mum, Dad's got another tattoo. That's not the social handle.
That's it every time. Every time.
Well, it was too long. Mum, Dad's got another tattoo.
Yeah, I know.
I think it's a great name for a podcast, but it's a fucking pain in the arse for social. And M the GAT, the acronym, is also getting really...
Doesn't roll off the tongue, does it?
Does not roll off the tongue. So I shortened it to Dad's Got Another Tattoo at gmail.com or at Dad's Got Another Tattoo on all social media platforms. Get in touch with any of your questions. And I'm going to try and stick a poll up about phone calls. That is my main...
Yeah. Please do. I'll tell you what, you carry on. I'll fucking stick a poll up.
Can I give a little confession? Right? Every time Richard phones me and I see his fucking name come up, oh, fucking hell, what does he want? Right? Yeah, if he ain't phoned me for about 10 days, I think to myself, what's the matter with Richard?
See? And also, don't forget that we are now a proud member of the Podomacy Podcast Network. You can check out all our back catalogue and a whole variety of other fantastic shows out there that will, I'm sure, something on there will tickle your fancy.
Yep, and till we release another one, you can go there. But for now, we'll leave it there. And thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.
Bye.